everybody, Nikki White here, and today I'm going to share with you some of my top travel vlogging tips. Now I know my channel isn't like
huge and I've got 1 million followers.
I've had a few friends ask me for tips on vlogging when traveling, and I'm going to share. And for any of you guys just getting started and you're beginners and you're thinking about vlogging when traveling, hopefully some of these tips help you. One of the first things to think about is why you want to travel vlog, and for me it's a combination of I started traveling on my own and I kind of wanted to document the trip to remember it because my memory is absolute trash. So that's kind of where it started. And then when I was traveling alone and going to all these cute places, people would ask me for recommendations and I'm like, let's combine these two, and I want to help people find these cute places that I've gone to because that's something that I would look for on YouTube. So that's kind of where my focus was top places to go or places to see, or just general, here's where I went, this is what I did, for myself to remember and also to help other people out. The next tip comes in the form of actually tracking and planning, and this is my handy dandy vlogging notebook that I have been using since probably 2018. You guys, if you know me, I'm a huge type A control freak, so this helps me plan, come up with ideas, stay in line with dates. And if you kind of just want to casually do this mainly for yourself, you don't have to impose any deadlines. I kind of set it to be my goal last year to come up with one video every week for 2024, and I did it. Thank you. That's a pretty extreme schedule for someone, so I wouldn't expect you guys to maybe do that. But I think it's still a great idea whether you put pen to paper or you make notes on your phone. Come up with ideas for what you want to vlog, where you want to vlog, and that'll help you down the line. So once you have your ideas written down and you know, oh, I want to film a video at, let's say, a Sanrio cafe, then you know that day you're bringing your stuff, you can kind of come up with an idea for the video. And as annoying as it is, it's always better to film more than not film enough. As I find in my earlier videos, I wasn't filming maybe enough, or it was just kind of sporadic. So unfortunately, it's better to film more and then cut it down and post later. And for editing, I personally use Premiere Pro, but you can even use basic stuff that comes with your computer. I don't know what the Windows equivalent is, but Mac stuff has iMovie. There's also mobile stuff, but I would not recommend personally editing video on mobile. I find it tedious and annoying. One of my major upgrades that I've done recently for my travel vlogging is switching out the camera that I was using. Previously, I'm filming on it now, but filming on my Sony handheld, which was good, and it had the flip screen, which was good for vlogging, but the stabilization on it was trash. So I had to buy a gimbal to go with the camera, and it was just very bulky, and I had to manually balance it, and it would always kind of come unbalanced, and I would have to be balancing it on the fly, which made it harder to film, made me not want to film as much. And then I'd be reaching for my phone and like filming some footage on my phone, which didn't necessarily match the camera footage. So I would also suggest, and I'm guilty of this, try to film on one device if you can. If you're like quickly trying to like snap something, you can switch devices, but I find personally in post it's just easier when all my files are on my camera versus my phone. Where I was going with that is that I recently switched from my Sony handheld to the DJI Pocket, which has been a game changer for me. Not sponsored in any way. I was in Japan last year with my friend and he had one, and I was like, oh, well, okay, there's no way with that tiny little thing that you can do XYZ. And he's like,
Yeah, you can.
so I was like, okay, well. So I played with his camera just to like mess around and kind of get a feel for it. And it was just super easy and intuitive and so much lighter and self-balancing compared to a handheld camera. So I personally made that switch. But as technology evolves all the time and there's new devices coming out, I find the stabilization on the new iPhone is also good. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend filming everything on your phone because then it's going to be using up your phone space as well as battery on your phone, which another tip is also on the topic of using up your battery. I always travel with an external battery, which is annoying and like an extra thing to carry around, but I have an Anker one and it's also been a game changer. It's been great. It holds an amazing charge. I can charge my phone or I can charge my camera on the go. So definitely think about that because you will run out of battery the more you're filming, obviously. And then I think one of the biggest questions I get and one of the biggest hurdles to get over is when you're travel vlogging and presumably you're filming in public places, it is hard to be in front of the camera. Like, I had to get used to this, and I used to hate hearing my voice or seeing myself in footage after I'd film it, and I was like, oh, this is so cringe. So it's honestly just an adjustment of being in front of the camera and getting used to it and not being like, hello, I am not myself. And something you can do is, for a travel vlog, you don't have to be in it if you don't want to. For me, it's like, since I wanted to catalog my memories and my trip, I would have to be in front of the camera for what I wanted. But you can also just film stuff and then do a voiceover later and just have your hands, or just have someone that you're traveling with in the video, or whatever you want. Like, you don't have to be in it. You don't even have to do a voiceover. You could literally just do subtitles. A lot of people do that too. So think about that, kind of what style of video you want to do. If you want to be in front of the camera, if you're not comfortable in front of the camera, then that's totally cool too. And since a lot of my traveling is done alone, I have to ask random strangers to either take my picture or ask them to film me, which, like, you just kind of get used to, because that's the only option you have. If you want a shot that you can't get on your own, you're gonna have to ask somebody, and people are always willing to help, honestly. And if you're traveling somewhere where you don't speak the language, I would suggest figuring out how to ask. For example, I've been to Japan 5 times now, and I know how to ask somebody to take a picture of me or to take a video of me. For example, in Japan, if I hear a native Japanese speaker, I can go up to them and ask, "Sumimasen, shashin o totte moremasen ka?" Which is, can you take a picture of me? And if you understand the yes or no, they're usually like, yes, no problem. So I think it's great to learn a little bit of the language wherever you're going, just to be able to ask. And of course, presumably, if you're traveling, you're probably in an area that has other tourists, so you can also listen in and listen for some English if you're more comfortable with that. The main point is, if you're traveling on your own like I do, you just kind of got to get used to it and ask people, because you don't want to regret not asking someone and then not getting a picture of yourself or a video of yourself to remember that moment. Those are the things I can think of off the top of my head for travel vlogging tips. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I will do my best to answer. And I know I'm not like a hot big YouTuber, but if you're just starting out, hopefully those tips help you, and we'll see you in the next one. Okay, see you, bye.